Hi, everyone. Taylor Rhodes here with Rocky Mountain Gun Owners. In just a few brief moments, I'm going to bring in Dudley Brown, our executive director, and give a few questions and answers that we've been getting. Unfortunately, with this coronavirus and COVID-19, we haven't been able to be out in the public as much as we would want and be out answering your questions at gun shows, gun stores, rallies, events across the state. So we wanted to give this video to you to answer those questions. If you do have questions, I'm going to ask you to pop those in the comments section so we can respond to those. And we're open to pretty much anything. Obviously, let's keep it fairly PG here, but we're open to pretty much anything. And be sure to also tag 3 of your friends in this video so we can spread the word as much as possible, as well as starting a watch party. And the link, well, I guess it'd be on this side here. You'll see a start watch party, and we want you to do that. So I'm going to bring in Dudley Brown here. Dudley, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hi there, Taylor.
Excellent. You're on with us.
Well, Taylor, you're in Denver. I'm in Fort Collins. And via our little magic production studio, we're not only talking and doing on video, but doing it and sharing with everybody else.
Right, exactly. Cool. Exactly. So before we got started, we've posted on Facebook and Twitter and all of our platforms, and we've even had emails come in over the past few weeks of questions from is our RMGO's doors still open to, what are we going to do about really the gun crisis amid this global pandemic, from things that revolve around extended wait times to all of the Dudley, did we lose you? Dudley, I believe we lost you. We're going to see if we can't bring you back in, but I do believe we lost you. Hold on just a second here. Let me see if I can bring him back in. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I think we have Dudley, do we have you?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what happened, but
that's all right.
Makeshift Studio I guess crashed for a second there, but we are back with Dudley. So we like I was saying, we've had questions from everything from are we going to be open until what's going on with the wait times? Is there anything that we can do about this? And now we're seeing some comments already come through. So Dudley, why don't you go ahead and give your introduction and the point that you have to make here?
Well, it's the big question was, what's RMGO doing? Are you still quotes open for business? And I don't know. We might actually even be busier than normal because there are a lot of threats right now to your Second Amendment rights, both nationwide and here in Colorado. And we're going to address some of those and talk about those. And though, yes, we're working remotely, so we can't be out and about as much, but we certainly are on the phone all the time and talking to a lot of people still. And so we're doing our very best to represent you as gun owners in Colorado and try everything we can do possibly, give you information and get you involved and do what we can to stop any of the little power grabs that are happening.
So yeah, absolutely. So
I think we actually make sure we want everybody to host a watch party. If you're watching this, we want to, host a watch party and give us your comments, ask questions, tell us where you're watching from. We always like to hear that, and then like the video.
Yeah, so we have our first live question, Dudley, and that question is anything new or in the works with the magazine limit. So in regards to our court case and the mag ban.
Well, and Paul, I love your Frank Sinatra album cover. That's fantastic, man. Paul, well, there are a number of people who have asked that question. The slightly correlated question is, hey, what is the I've lost track of all the court cases, what's going on. So we'll talk about the other court cases later. But this one, the magazine ban a court case that Rocky Mountain gun owners and the National Association for Gun Rights filed 6 years ago now, 6.5 actually, in the summer of 2013, right after the law was enacted. That has been up and down through all the courts, and it's now sitting, waiting for a decision from the Colorado Supreme Court, which is the ultimate authority. See, Rocky Mountain gun owners filed this lawsuit to get rid of the magazine ban based on Colorado's constitution, not the federal. Therefore, it really can't go to the U.S. Supreme Court. It has to go to and be decided by the Colorado Supreme Court. We had that hearing in last November, and we're waiting on a decision. It could come anytime. Of course, the COVID-19 epidemic has certainly changed a lot of things and a lot of people's schedules, but we're going to hear about that later. And while we're talking about court cases, we had actually a conference call hearing on our lawsuit, the RMGO lawsuit, to get rid of Colorado's red flag law based on how it was passed through the legislature. And it was the first of what was likely to be many hearings with the judge. And I think that came out really well. In fact, I'm going to ask our attorney to do a special video on this. Certainly once we get a decision on the state attorney general's motion to dismiss the case, which is generally what lawyers try to do, is have it dismissed. And I think we're going to prevail on that. We do have standing clearly to file against it.
Yeah. So, and I'll speak on that for just a second. And sitting there with you in the mag ban case, I'm fairly optimistic. I'm fairly optimistic of what could happen, and I know that our members. This has been a long time coming. This is so everyone is anxious, including myself.
Well, almost 7 years now, and I hate to tally up the amount of money we spent, and when I say we, I mean you have. Rocky Mountain Gun Owners members spent to bring this case and get it all the way through the courts and get the expert testimony and pay our very able and good attorney, Barry Arrington, who gave us a incredibly discounted rate. He's an RMGO Life member, has since I formed the group. And it's, will we prevail? I mean, I love to be optimistic, but I will say, it didn't really matter. We kind of had to take a run at that. We promised we would if we could raise the money. We did raise the money, and we had to take a run at it. And so we'll find out.
Yeah. So our next question is another live question from Todd. He is asking, what is the best way to privately sell a pistol? I'm in Colorado. That's kind of a tough question now since 2013, but. Dudley, what's your answer on that?
Well, if you can find a buyer, you can go to a federal firearms licensee and have them complete the transfer. But you can no longer sell, with some exceptions, you can't sell to somebody you just met a firearm of any type and without going through the Brady registration checks. And that's because of the 2013 law. Many shops will do that transfer for you, but a lot of the independently owned, Craigslist, different types of marketplaces will no longer allow that. Those of you who've been RMGO members for a while can remember we used to have a website called Colorado Gun Market, and that was a private sale website. And until the law prohibited it, it was very popular. It was just a meeting place for people. And of course, that's gone now since we can't actually use that. The truth is, it's a difficult thing to do to sell a firearm privately now. And you don't get the premium that you used to have before when you sold it, quotes, off paper. So.
Right. I know we just had that discussion of a rifle that a friend of mine is looking for, and really the advantages of buying not from a shop isn't really there anymore. So that kind of parlays into the next question, and I know there might be quite a few new gun owners that are watching this video right now, or may watch at a different time. And the next question is from Carolyn, and she's asking, how do I fill out and be approved to own a gun? The law, what is the law's restrictions? Can I apply online? Which, to many people, that may be a kind of a strange question of, a seasoned gun owner, but to a new gun owner, that may be something that needs to be addressed. And Dudley, do you want to take that, or would you like me to?
Yeah, no, I'll take it. You're the host. I'm supposed to answer the questions, right? Well, Carolyn, the Colorado law and federal law apply, but the federal Brady Act essentially requires you to go through a Brady check for new purchases, and Colorado law expands that to private purchases. So you have to fill out a form at a dealer's, any fire licensed dealer, and fill out a form called a 4473. And that form you got to check certain boxes, and you can't be convicted of a misdemeanor, a domestic violence crime, and of actual violence. You can't be a convicted felon. You have to be, there are all these requirements, and you fill that out, and then they submit it to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, called CCIC, and they check their system and decide whether you should be eligible to practice a constitutionally guaranteed right. It's the only real right that you have to ask government permission before you practice it every time. And it's unconstitutional, but you can thank many of the people who capitulated on that back in the early 90s, including the National Rifle Association, to enact the Brady Act. We think it's unconstitutional and immoral, but nevertheless it exists. So when you buy one, you'll have to go through that system. Now that might lead to the other question I know that's in our hopper is, how long is it taking for them to run the background checks? Now it's supposed to happen very quickly. CBI went through a phase where they were waiting almost 5 days before they would give an approval code, and but sometimes it'll be as short as 5 minutes. And nowadays, supposedly it's down to a normal time, 15 minutes. However, we have a glitch with our federal firearms license and have to check it. But I'll give you status updates on that soon. However, you should know that gun shops, FFLs themselves, are allowed under federal law to transfer the firearm after 72 hours that it's been in the system. And so, what we're finding is a lot of gun shops aren't doing that. They're just waiting for the approval code from CBI, which for a while there, last week and previous weeks, was taking quite a while. Now our federal firearms license, which just does a limited number, mostly for giveaways, was transferring after 72 hours. If that's how long they were taking, we're going to follow federal law, but we're not going extra effort to be even, frankly, more aggressive. So.
Right. So our next question talks kind of in the legislation aspect of what's going on. This year, as everyone probably knows, is there's two real anti-gun threats. Well, there's several anti-gun threats, but two big anti-gun threats, which is the Lock Up Your Safe law and the I just went blank here, Dudley. The
one gun a month.
No, it's not one gun a month. It's Lock Up Your Safe, and if you call in, you have to report lost and stolen firearms. So, obviously there's other things that the Dems want to do. They voiced support that they've wanted to do, and one gun a month is one of those. What are your thoughts on Northam instituting one gun a month? Is that a real threat here in Colorado? I can tell you it is, but how big of a threat is that here in Colorado?
Frankly, anybody who tells you that's not a real threat, that gun control is not a real threat in Colorado under the current legislature, is an idiot. You should never listen to them again. Everything is on the table in this legislature. I mean, does that mean it's likely? Maybe, maybe not. As someone who's been a gun lobbyist now for starting my 27th year, I'm always flabbergasted by the direction some of the Dem legislators have gone in thinking they're stopping crimes of violence by enacting a gun control. One gun a month, to me, sounds more like a requirement than a limitation. You must buy at least one gun a month. Now understand, the state of Virginia has had one gun a month. I can't remember if it was about 10 years, 12 years, and then they repealed it. And if there's anything that's patently ludicrous and unconstitutional, it's limiting how many firearms you can buy. Pretty silly. And as if it's going to stop somebody. All it takes is one gun for someone to commit a crime or to defend themselves. Either one. It doesn't really matter. So.
Right. That's absolutely true. And, that's not the only thing that's really a threat. And will we see those threats this year? I don't know. I think we probably will, as anti-gun as some of the people that are pushing this type of legislation. Tom Sullivan is obviously, we know, is rabidly anti-gun and will do anything to get his way to push the anti-gun agenda. And I think even in these tough times, he probably will want to see these two extremely anti-gun pieces of legislation pushed through in the midnight hour here. So the next question we have is revolving around concealed carry permits, concealed handgun permits, as they're called here in Colorado. The question is, can we put some pressure on Denver County to resume issuing CCW permits? That's obviously been a big hot button issue around the state for people that want to legally carry a firearm. Obviously, we know constitutional carry is the best thing, but is there pressure that we can put on these quote unquote rogue county sheriffs to do their job? Colorado is a shall issue state. If they have this certification, technically, should they shall not issue these?
Well, the question I have, that's an old friend of mine, I think, Damon, who asked it. And I didn't think Damon lived in Denver, in the city and county of Denver. But it's a good question nevertheless. And it's kind of related to what the governor just issued an order. And that order essentially suspended the requirement for county sheriffs to take fingerprints for a permit and allow them to issue temporary emergency permits. And now, of course, we think the solution is passing constitutional carry, which is an issue Rocky Mountain Gun Owners has been working on since our founding. And we've passed it now. There are 15 states enjoy constitutional carry. Just 3 of them enacted it last year in 2019. And a lot of that work was done by the National Association for Gun Rights on our national group. And but there's the executive order that the governor signed and sent out, and essentially removing the requirement to do the fingerprints. That's the objection by some of the sheriffs, Arapahoe County, Douglas County, even El Paso County, is that the fingerprint requirement makes people come into their sheriff's office and spend a significant amount of time taking the fingerprints and prior to the application for a permit. Now, those of you who have been on and heard some of RMGO's previous videos, you might have heard Sheriff Steve Reams talking about this from Weld County. Sheriff Reams, I asked him the question, which I knew the answer to already, which is, how many permit holders have you denied a permit, or permit applications have you denied a permit for because of their fingerprints and not because of the quotes background check. And he said 0. And that's the answer I get from every sheriff. They don't actually get the information back on the fingerprints. Frankly, it's always on the background check itself for the permit. And so the point is that the fingerprints are kind of a joke. And so you don't really need the fingerprints to check someone's background. And so, I mean, I'll just applaud Governor Polis for that move, because for a Democrat governor, that isn't bad. However, it's temporary emergency permit could happen quickly. My guess is by the time people will get the permits, we'll be in the great thaw anyway. I don't know. Denver, however, will they start issuing now? They have the governor's order. It's tough because I don't know. There's not a whole lot of pressure you can bring to bear on the city and county of Denver. Let's just be really patently obvious right here and honest. They are a communist state in downtown Denver, and everybody who represents them is a far lefty, gun haters, and unless it's their guns, of course. And they're never really going to have very pro-gun policy. I mean, they're always the organization that fights against any firearms reforms that we push in the state capitol. In fact, the city taxpayers for Denver send a sergeant to the capitol who does nothing but lobby, and largely he's the main opposition to all the gun controls in the capitol, to the gun reforms, our pro-gun stuff. So.
And to actually speak on this, we actually just had a message come in, and one reason I was kind of silent there for a second. One of our members just messaged the page here, and he gave me approval to put the message up from El Paso County here. It's kind of cool that we can do this, and he's saying that El Paso County is still, even with this injunction in place, that they are still not willing to issue permits, but they're taking a look at it. So even in the most conservative areas in the state, we're seeing some of these sheriffs go rogue.
Well, and I know a lot of gun owners have this love affair with law enforcement. We've seen a lot of sheriffs oppose red flag, but that was largely when they saw a big tidal wave of opposition to an issue from their constituents. A lot of them, however, when the wave either isn't there or is going the other direction, they cave very quickly. So I think we're going to have to make a quick round of phone calls. I'll probably make them directly to the sheriffs themselves, in counties that really should. They shouldn't have a problem. They should know that we're lurking out in the corners watching what they're doing. So.
And I think that leads me to our next topic here. We'll take a slight break from the questions, and I just want to remind everyone to please share this video, start a watch party, tag 2 or 3 of your friends in this, so we can spread the word to as many people as possible. But that screenshot actually just came in from someone who signed up to be one of our RMGO ambassadors. And this is a new program that we're putting in to essentially let our members get involved to essentially the fullest extent of really being a grassroots activist in the conservative liberty movement. And without these people, RMGO wouldn't be where it's at today. Now we're giving them a title and letting them go to work here. So it's definitely something that I'm excited about.
Yeah. Let me say, since I founded RMGO in 1996, late 1996, and since then we've had literally hundreds of volunteers who put in hundreds of hours apiece, and when their life allowed it, and I should probably write down a list of the names of a lot of those people. Ray Hickman is one in Fort Collins who for many years did enormous amount of work for RMGO. John Sternberg is a plaintiff on many of the lawsuits we run. Even when the very first building we ever built, an office building, which was pretty small in the 2000s in Morgan County, we had a guy who helped build it and volunteered time. On and on and on, all down the line, and people who volunteered and made things happen. And this was just an idea, kind of giving a title and a formal structure. And we called it the Ambassador Program, and we might flesh out more items. It's a way for people who say, "Hey, look, I'm a member, but what more can I do?" I'm stretched thin on how much money I can give. That's fine, but I want to do things, and here's my skill set. Now, Ambassadors Program is maybe a more along the lines of extroverts, because the idea is we get you in a little bit of our political tactics training and tell you what we're doing and why we do it, so you have a little better background on that. And then we want you wearing our gear and stopping in at gun shops and going to shooting ranges and going shooting events, and taking T-shirts and giving to people and having people sign petitions and making friends and kind of getting them involved. And that's the rough idea behind it. That takes kind of an outgoing personality at times, and not everybody's like that. And of course, we recognize that Rocky Mountain Gun Owners members are all types. Let's put it that way. Not everybody, is the typical gun person. There are a lot of ladies involved in the operation. There are a lot of people who are professionals who, frankly, you wouldn't look at first blush and say, "Hey, there's a RMGO member." There are people in downtown Denver and out in the country and everywhere in between, and they're not necessarily all active shooters. Like me, I'm an active shooter. I shoot all the time, and frankly, if I ask my teenage son to go to the range another day in a row, I'm pretty sure he's going to roll his eyes again, right? Yeah, he's my cameraman right now.
But Dudley, I think the most invaluable thing about this program is the training that we give you to really go. I know for me, I received that training over a year ago now, and it has changed my life politically drastically. It actually, I remember you sat me down and you say, "No, you may not actually swallow this pill. It may be too tough for you." But and I was pulled up by my bootstraps and thrown into it and drank from a water hose, and now I would never think of politics any other way. So that attests to the training that we're going to give our ambassadors to go out and take on Colorado politics.
Well, and some of that is the training is really intended because they're going out into the community and talking about an organization. They're going to get a lot of questions, not all of which they'll be able to answer. Why does RMGO not say nice things about politicians? There's a great example. I hear that a lot. Why doesn't it, say really nice things about this politician who voted right on red flag? I'm like, I didn't thank my neighbor because he didn't loot and pillage my house last night. Don't thank a politician because they voted for the Constitution one time or even 5 times. That's the very least you can expect from them. And of course, one of the tenets we teach is if you can't say anything bad about a politician, don't say anything at all. Now, there are some exceptions to that. Heroes who will charge the hill, the Patrick Nevilles of the world. But by and large, we just don't say nice things about politicians because it kind of gives them the license to hose you at that point. So that's the kind of training we, into that strategy, political strategy. So the ambassadors can kind of answer more of those questions. So the reason we're talking about it here is the people want to get involved deeper, more than just, okay, I'll be a member and join once a year or make a comment on a Facebook post once a year or every once in a while. If you want to go a little bit further, we've got a link here for our ambassadors program. It's going to kind of give you a direct connection into RMGO and what we do, and I'm pretty sure the ambassador is going to have new ideas on what to do for the organization, and we're going to give them pretty much unfettered access to talk that through and work with Taylor and me and others on how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this goes for new members and members that have been here for 100 years. I actually got a call today from a guy in North Carolina that I met on the Capitol here, and was like, this was last year when I was delivering petitions, and he had never seen anybody do this before. He said he'd been in capitals all over the country, and he kind of explained just a little bit of the petition program and how it actually, for a lack of better words, it forces these legislators to do what you want, because they're afraid of losing their sport in the next election. And I think that's a test to the program that we have that you have built, Dudley, over the past 25 years, and that we're implementing every day. And I'm just as excited for you as bringing in new people into the fold, and building RMGO and building the Liberty movement.
Petition delivery is an interesting thing. In September, NAGR staff went and we held a news conference on the lawn of the U.S. Capitol, and we delivered 1.3 million petitions to the U.S. House, 1.3 million to the U.S. Senate, individual U.S. senators, and 1.3 million to the White House. And those were all to oppose gun control, including red flag. And as you might recall, at that point, the White House was supporting red flag. And since then, it has been relatively quiet on that issue, which is a good thing. And what's interesting is so few people in Washington, D.C. have ever even seen actual petition delivery, that they almost look at you like, what? You're doing what? And we're actually petitioning our government on behalf of our members and supporters and activists, and we're bringing them, the elected officials, a connection from their constituents saying, please vote this way. And I'm watching you, and this organization is going to watch how you vote. And as Everett Dirksen, a famous U.S. senator, once said, when I feel the heat, I see the light. And we like to apply that heat a lot. That's one thing we do as a grassroots activated organization, is deliver the pressure and hold them accountable. So,
So with talking about the national issues, there's one issue in particular that our members, I know, have been blowing up my email and phone and our Facebook pages about 5717, which is a huge threat to our constitutional rights. The question came in through Instagram and was a pre-asked question in regarding to, what does this bill do? Is it really as bad as everyone's saying it is? And how can we stop it?
Yeah, HR 5717 is the bill that everyone's asking about, and there are some spin-offs to it. But that's a bill in Congress, not in Denver. It's in Washington, D.C. And even though Congress is not in session right now until, at the earliest, our federal lobbyist, I'm a federal lobbyist actually, but we have one on Capitol Hill year round. And both the House and Senate will not be in session until the first week of May at the earliest. My guess is it ends up in being June 1st. And that bill isn't taken up yet, but Nancy Pelosi's House could take it up at any moment when they come back. And just like they took up the assault weapons ban and all kinds of bills last fall, which I was on hand for in the House Judiciary Committee. So yes, it's certainly a concern and a threat. And the interesting thing about Congress is that Congress doesn't actually have to pass that particular bill. you use a bill to bring up a concept, and if you gain enough people supporting it and co-sponsors, then often what you do is set it aside and wait for the opportune moment, usually a tragedy for gun controls. They wait for a tragedy, and then you tack it on to another bill that's all going to move, or one that's going to pass anyway. Here's a great example. The Fix NICS bill, which is a broad expansion of the Brady registration system and a bribing of states to put data into the prohibited persons list in NICS, was kind of languishing in the House, and then it started being pushed by the House Republicans. This is before the Dems took control in 2017 and then 18, and then but it was dead in the U.S. Senate. And then Parkland shooting happened, and though Senator Rand Paul and Senator Mike Lee had both placed a hold on the bills and were threatening to filibuster on the Fix NICS Act, it was tacked into the omnibus spending package by the administration, and it was a must-pass bill. Fix NICS was tacked in, and bada bing, bada boom, it was law. So that's the kind of thing you got to worry about. So, they tack it into a bill and Christmas tree the bill, and much like the stimulus spending package that passed a couple weeks ago. Often that's you never know what's in the bill, even until it gets on the floor, and then you got to vote on it first. Then you know what's in the bill, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've heard that more than once, unfortunately. The next question we have is getting back to Colorado and really talking about this COVID pandemic that we have. And the question was from Ryan asking, can Polis really stop gun sales? And will he? Obviously it looks like things are getting better, but if things do get worse, can he completely stop gun sales? Is that a real threat?
The answer is actually yes. Colorado, unfortunately, has a provision in law that allows the governor to stop all firearm sales or regulate them during a declared crisis. I don't know, Taylor, if you have the citation there. I can't remember the citation of Colorado law. We've tried to repeal that provision, we don't have the citation there, but we'll post up on the website. He can pause firearm sales during an emergency. Anytime a state of emergency is declared, not just for this virus or anything, under current law, the governor can do that. Now he hasn't, and in fact, he listed firearms and ammunition sellers as essential businesses. So, and I darn well think they're essential businesses in this kind of environment. People want the tools for self-defense. Many people who had not thought about it before are thinking about it now.
Absolutely, there's no question about that. And again, please ask your questions. In the thing, I see Chris just put in, what are we doing to repeal the magazine ban? We just talked about that just a moment ago, so we won't go over that again. We were in the Supreme Court in November, and we're fairly optimistic. But please do ask your questions in the comment section. We'll go on for another 15 or 20 minutes or so, and we'll use that. Corey here is saying, support your local gun shops. Use your stimulus check for new firearms. I know that is what mine will more than likely go to. Not more than likely. I know it will.
You've already spent it.
Yeah, I've already spent it. It's I've just got to pay the credit card off now.
Good comment, Corey. I saw a meme. I think it was Triple J, wasn't it?
It was.
That said, do you remember what it said?
Yeah. So it said, and I actually tweeted it out. I stole their meme there, and I said, so what are you getting your stimulus check chambered in? I think mine is chambered in 556 this time, but we'll see. Dudley, what are you getting yours chambered in?
Yeah. Well, I'm busy helping my son build an AR-15, so I guess that's 5.56.
Excellent, excellent. And I guess that parlays into our next question that's revolving around our gun stores partners and people that we're very friendly with. On Twitter, Alan asked, "Is RMGO in partnership with any gun stores in the Denver metro area?" The answer is no, but yes. We are very friendly with all the gun shops around the state. Unfortunately, there are few that will actually take a stand in the politics realm of this. Dudley, if you don't
Well,
mind, I'll handle this. But
yeah. I mean, well, just but make the comment. I'll just make a comment that they're they're business people and their
sure,
job is to make money, and some people will equate a firearms business as a cause, and it's not really a cause; it's a business. But
right, exactly,
you'd
and
also
of
think,
course
I
we
mean, in the same vein, you'd think Remington and Colt and all these firearms manufacturers, it's a cause. No, actually, that's a business too. And in fact, those guys rarely are involved in the political side. Most of the time, it's on the wrong side. It's they're kind of cutting deals and passing gun controls that protect them,
right
unfortunately.
exactly, and with gun shops, there's Centennial Gun Club is great. They've hosted many of our events there. Triple J Armory is a new friend. JD has been very helpful for us answering questions and things like that. Blue Core Shooting Center is in Lakewood. It's superb. Bristlecone is up in Lakewood as well. It's very good. Broomfield Shoot Indoors. Those guys are great. Those are some of the better ones. Of course, there's Denver Bullets. That's right downtown Denver. If you actually are living downtown, those guys have been longtime friends of RMGO.
Yep.
I know there's a couple that I'm not listing off, and of course I'm probably going to get a text within 10 seconds saying, "Hey, I'm watching your live stream. Why didn't you mention me?" But
Well,
there
yeah.
are a lot of good gun shops in the metro area that have been unofficial partner per se.
In Fort Collins, USA Liberty Arms are good friends, and uh, the guys at Front Range Gun Club up here, the Bristlecone in Lakewood, Centennial Gun Club down in Centennial. There are a lot more who are literally good people. Some of them are a little skittish about talking about things politically, and we try and encourage them. Look, take a bold stand. These are your customers. It doesn't mean that you have to be the standard old grumpy, dirty gun shop that with dust all over everything and in the room, and yell at anybody who walks in the door telling them they're fools because they don't know as much as you do. And we understand that's maybe not a good business practice, but there are also some who are frankly scared of their own shadow on the gun issue, and sad. But we encourage them. Look, guys, come on. Blue Core, a lot of those guys. We want you guys all to take a firm stand, and we like to partner with them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I literally, I said that and I got a text. So the next question we have was actually from somebody I already mentioned, but the next question we had was via Facebook Messenger, and you're always welcome. And I'll preface this: if you have a question for us, Dudley and I and others are always monitoring our Facebook page. That's really, outside of just calling me directly or our office directly, that's really the best way to get in contact with us. Outside of our email sends and things like that, to stay up to date. Typically, we respond within a day at least.
Yep.
And then that next question came from our Facebook Messenger, and Eric. I won't say his last name here, but can we prevent the Democrats, or the rats in all caps here, Democrats, from taking our freedoms? I've stayed in Colorado for 4 years, and it seems like it's getting worse and worse. Dudley, you care to talk about that?
Yeah, Rocky Mountain Gun Owners has been successful in stopping a lot of legislation, largely because we have a very active election program. Period. End of sentence. If you can't threaten the re-election of politicians, they will ignore you. Now, this is a principle we teach in the classes we referenced earlier, and there's going to be a link post up on our Facebook page for that class. I think there's one this Saturday, an online class, and you can kind of dig into it a bit more by watching and going through that class. But the point is that if politicians can look at you and say, I can ignore you and it won't mean a hill of beans to my reelection, they're going to ignore you. And they're going to take the other direction because, frankly, a soccer moms or a bigger, the chiefs of police is going to put money in against them if they vote pro-gun. And so the trick is to be able to build a big enough army that you threaten their reelection. Now, in 2014, we did that, and we took the state Senate, Rocky Mountain Gun Owners PAC and Super PAC, the two legal structures we have to get involved in campaigns, played a very big role in winning the majority for the Republicans in the Senate and stopping future gun controls. But then Dems took back the state Senate then not long thereafter. And so yeah, you got to win elections, and there's no substitute for winning elections. That's true in Congress. It's true in state legislatures. That's never going to change. If you don't win elections, you're going to be continuously trying to play catch up just to kill bad bills. And we all saw in 2013 and even here in 2019 and 20 that it was very difficult to kill pro-gun or anti-gun bills when you don't have the numbers.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So we have one last question that was pre-entered, I guess, and this is kind of the last call for questions on the board. If you do have a question, put it in the comment section, and we'll answer it here for you. We're going to jump off this in the next few minutes. But the last question, Dudley, and we briefly touched on this, is what is the current background check wait time? The guy said, I'm looking to buy a new Glock, but don't want to wait 4 days. Is there a way to get around the background check in Colorado?
Yeah, and so there isn't a way to get around it legally. You have to go through a dealer, and that dealer has to put you through CBI's point of sale. You call it background check, but really what it is registration. It's the Brady system itself. Colorado uses Colorado Bureau of Investigation as its point of contact for those sales, and CBI then runs through their database, CCIC, and the NICS database, the federal, and so the reportedly the wait times are back down into normal time frame, 20 minutes, pre-COVID-19 time frame. But I have not been able to verify that because we have a glitch right now with our FFL, and we'll post that information on exactly what the wait time is and actually show you a screenshot of what it takes, how long it's taken right now.
Well, very good, Dudley. I don't see any more questions, and thank you for taking now about an hour of your time to address the members and supporters, and I really appreciate it. I know everyone else does as well.
Thank you, and thanks everybody for not only watching but being a part of our movement. And it's not mine, it's not Taylor's, it's your movement. And you guys are the real backbone of the liberty movement in the state. No, there's no other group in Colorado doing what you all do for liberty. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dudley. I am very pleased with the way this went today, and maybe in the next couple of days we'll do it again. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll come and talk to you again soon.